The Magic of the Lost Star. Once upon a time, in a small, snow-covered village named Eichenheim, hidden deep within a forest, there was a place that seemed straight out of a fairy tale. The snow-dusted cottages with their smoking chimneys looked like they had come from a storybook, and the strings of lights stretched from house to house, sparkling in the gentle light of the full moon. It was Christmas time, and the air was filled with the scent of cinnamon, fresh cookies, and fir trees. The villagers of Eichenheim were preparing for the grand Christmas celebration, as they did every year. But this year, something was different. The great star that traditionally shone atop the tallest tree in the village square, symbolizing the heart of the celebration, was gone. No one knew how or why it had disappeared. It was as if it had vanished into thin air. The villagers were desperate. Without the star, Christmas in Eichenheim seemed incomplete. Children sat by the windows, gazing at the overcast sky, as though they could find an answer there. Adults murmured with concern as they tried to come up with a solution. But no one had an explanation. Among the villagers was a little boy named Felix. He was only 10 years old, but had a big heart and an unwavering belief in the magic of Christmas. Felix was convinced that the star couldn't have simply vanished. "There must be a reason," he said to his best friend Mia, a girl with wild curls and a sharp mind. Mia was a year older than Felix, but often got swept up in his enthusiasm. "What if the star is waiting for us somewhere?" Felix asked. "Maybe it needs our help." Mia raised an eyebrow skeptically. "Felix, it's just a star. It's probably broken, or maybe someone stole it." "But what if it's magical?" Felix replied with shining eyes. "I mean, it always shone so brightly, as if it were alive. I'm going to find it. Do you want to come with me?" Mia hesitated. "This is crazy." "But," she grinned, "I like crazy ideas. When do we leave?" That very night, while the village was deep in the slumber of the Christmas season, Felix and Mia slipped out of their houses. Armed with a lantern, warm coats, and a map of the surrounding forest drawn by Felix's grandfather, they set off into the unknown. The forest was dark and mysterious. The snow crunched under their boots, and their breath formed clouds in the freezing air. Yet, despite the cold, Felix and Mia felt strangely warm, like the anticipation of their adventure was driving them forward. "Do you think we'll find it?" Mia asked softly, pulling her scarf tighter. "I don't know," Felix admitted, "but I believe we have to." The further they ventured into the forest, the stranger things became. Here and there, they discovered sparkling trails in the snow that looked like stardust. A light breeze carried a soft, almost melodic sound through the trees, like the distant toll of a bell. Suddenly, Mia stopped. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. Felix nodded. "It's coming from up ahead." They followed the sound, which led them to a small clearing. In the center of the clearing stood an old, gnarled tree, its branches arching protectively over the snow. Beneath the tree sat a strange figure, a small, glowing creature that looked part human and part star. Its eyes sparkled like the night sky, and its voice seemed to come from an ancient song. "Who dares to come here on this sacred night?" the creature asked with a gentle smile. Felix stepped forward. "I'm Felix, and this is Mia. We're searching for the great Christmas star. Without it, we can't celebrate Christmas properly." The creature tilted its head. "The star was not stolen, nor is it lost. It became sad. People have forgotten its meaning. They only think of gifts and their own desires. The star needs hope and faith to shine." "How can we help it?" Mia asked. "You must find the star and show it that the magic of Christmas still lives," the creature replied. "It's a difficult task, but I see the light in your hearts." Felix and Mia nodded determinedly. "We can do it," Felix said, and so began a journey that would take them not only through the forest, but also into the hearts of the villagers. The Magic of the Lost Star. The Magic of the Lost Star was an adventure that Felix and Mia would carry forever in their hearts. The dark forests, the glowing trails, and the trials they had overcome were just the beginning of a journey that meant far more than they could have imagined. When they had safely returned the great Christmas star to the highest tree in the village, they thought everything would be right again. But deep in the silent night, while the village slept and the star glittered brightly in the sky, a new magic began to unfold. Through Felix and Mia's belief, the star had regained its strength, but its light was more than just a mere glow. It was a spark that awakened hearts and changed the world. While the people of Eichenheim dreamed in their warm beds, the star's light spread, wandering over the snow-covered roofs and deeper into the forest. It was as if the light was searching for something, as if it had heard a call known only to it. Felix woke up in the middle of the night. Something had pulled him from his sleep, a soft, golden flicker that fell through the curtains of his small room. He sat up and rubbed his eyes. Outside, everything was still, but the light of the star seemed more intense than before. It was almost as if it were inviting him. Without thinking twice, he slipped into his warm boots, threw on his coat, and quietly sneaked out of the house. Outside, Mia was already waiting. She stood with her arms crossed and teeth chattering beside the old bench in front of Felix's house. "I knew you'd wake up," she said with a faint smile. "Did you see the light?" Felix nodded. "It's calling us. I don't know why, but it feels important." "Of course it's important," Mia replied, though she couldn't quite hide her nervousness. "Let's go before anyone notices." Together, they followed the light of the star, which led them like a glowing thread through the night. The snow crunched beneath their feet, and the cold air bit at their faces, but they felt no fatigue. The farther they went, the stronger the feeling grew that they were on the right path. The forest lay still and mysterious before them, but this time it didn't feel as threatening as before. The trees seemed to make way for them, as if they were helping the children on their journey. Soon, they reached a clearing that seemed strangely familiar. It was the same clearing where they had encountered the glowing creature earlier. But this time, it was empty. No stardust, no melodic sounds. Only the light of the great star gently fell on the center of the clearing. "Why are we here?" Mia asked softly, but before Felix could answer, the snow in front of them began to sparkle. A new trail appeared, this time made of small golden sparks that seemed to dance in the wind. Without hesitation, they followed the trail, which led deeper into the forest, to a place no one in the village had ever entered. The trail led them to a cave, its entrance framed by icy icicles and shimmering frost. From inside, a soft, warm glow leaked out, painting the walls in golden hues. Felix and Mia exchanged a glance before cautiously entering. The cave was much larger than they had expected, and inside, it felt as though time had stood still. In the center of the room stood a huge ancient mirror, framed in silver, with a surface that seemed to contain liquid light. "This is incredible," Mia whispered. "What is this place?" "I don't know," Felix admitted, "but I think we're meant to find something here." No sooner had he spoken the words than the mirror began to glow. A gentle, warm voice filled the cave. "Welcome, guardians of the light. You have saved the star and returned it, but your journey is not over." "Guardians of the light?" Mia asked, raising an eyebrow. "That sounds a bit much for two kids." The voice laughed softly. "And yet, it is you. The light of the star needs you. The world has more than just one darkness, and the star cannot drive it away alone. There are places where the magic of Christmas has been forgotten, hearts that have lost their hope. You must bring that magic back." Felix felt a warm determination spread within him. "But how are we supposed to do that? We're just kids." "You are," the voice replied, "but the light within you is stronger than you think. You will find the way. Follow the star, and it will lead you." Before they could respond, the mirror began to shift. Its surface showed images of places that Felix and Mia did not recognize. A gray city, its streets empty and silent, a small house where a child looked sadly out the window, and a snow-covered mountain beneath a dark sky. The voice spoke again. "These are the places that need your light. Go there and remind the people what Christmas really means." With these words, the light of the mirror faded, and the cave fell silent. Felix and Mia exchanged a glance. "This is bigger than I thought," Mia said softly. Felix nodded. "But we can do it. If the star trusts us, we have to try." And so began a new journey. The star led them from place to place, through cities and villages, over mountains and rivers. Everywhere they went, they brought the message of hope and joy, told stories, and helped people believe in the magic of Christmas once more. Felix and Mia quickly realized that it wasn't always easy to reach people's hearts. But with every small success, with every smile they brought forth, the light of the star grew a little brighter, and so did the glow in their own hearts. For in the end, they now knew, Christmas was not just a time of giving, but a time to believe in the good that lies in every person. And this light, no matter how small it might seem, could brighten the darkest night. Felix and Mia had completed their journey with the great Christmas star, and the light they had brought into the world had driven away the darkness from many hearts. The village of Eichenheim shone brighter than ever before, and people continued to tell stories of the brave children who had saved the magic of Christmas. Yet deep inside, Felix and Mia knew that their task was not yet fully completed. Time passed, and a year after their first journey, the next winter arrived. Once again, the village decorated the great tree, and the Christmas star proudly gleamed at its top. Everything seemed peaceful, but Felix couldn't shake a strange feeling. It was as if the star was whispering again, not as loudly as the previous year, but softly, barely audible, like a mysterious call from deep within the stars. One evening, as Felix sat by the window and gazed at the clear night sky, he noticed something unusual. Beside the great Christmas star, another star appeared, pulsing and sparkling as if trying to draw attention to itself. Felix rubbed his eyes. It wasn't an ordinary star. It seemed closer and more alive, almost as if it had a message. "Mia!" Felix called excitedly and hurried to her house. Mia opened the door, half asleep. "What's wrong, Felix? It's late." "The star! There's a new star in the sky, and I think it's calling us." Mia rolled her eyes, but quickly pulled her coat on. "All right, show me what you mean." Together, they went out into the frosty night. Mia didn't take long to spot the new star. "You're right," she murmured. "It really does look strange, but what does it mean?" Before Felix could answer, the star began to move. Slowly, but clearly, it traced a path of shimmering light across the sky. Felix and Mia exchanged a glance. They knew what to do. "It's just like last year," Felix said. "We have to follow it." Without hesitation, they grabbed their warm coats, lanterns, and a few supplies. The star led them out of the village and deep into the snowy forest. It was a quiet, clear night, and the light of the star was their only guide. The further they went, the more they felt a strange energy in the air, as if something extraordinary was about to happen. After hours of walking, they reached another clearing. In the center stood an old moss-covered well, its water still resting under a thin layer of ice. The new star hovered directly above the well, casting its light down into the depths. "What now?" Mia asked quietly. Suddenly, the well began to glow, and a figure rose from the water. It was a woman whose skin sparkled like the night sky, and whose eyes glowed like stars. She smiled gently and spoke with a voice that sounded like a song. "Felix and Mia, I have called you because the world needs your help again." The children stood speechless in awe until Felix finally found the courage to speak. "Who are you? And why do you need our help?" "I am Astra, guardian of the starlights," the woman explained. The great Christmas star was only a part of something larger. There are many stars that maintain the balance of the world, and one of them is in danger. The North Star, which guides the way and drives away the darkness, is losing its light. Without it, people might get lost in the dark. Mia furrowed her brow. "Why is it losing its light?" Astra sighed. "Because people have forgotten it. They no longer remember how important the light is that shows them the way. You must travel to the North Star and help it regain its light." "To the North Star?" Felix asked, astonished. "But it's so high up. How are we supposed to do that?" Astra smiled. "The stars have their ways. Trust in me, and I will guide you there." With a wave of her hand, she created a bridge of starlight that rose high into the sky. "Step onto the bridge, and it will take you to the North Star. But beware, the darkness will try to stop you. You must stay strong and keep your light." Felix and Mia looked at each other. They were afraid, but they knew they had no choice. Together, they stepped onto the bridge, which gently shifted beneath their feet. The light of the stars surrounded them like a protective cloak, and they felt braver than they had expected. The journey to the North Star was long and full of challenges. Along the way, they encountered shadowy creatures that tried to pull them down into the depths, but Felix and Mia held on to each other and trusted the light. They met ancient, forgotten stars who told them stories of long past times, and they collected small sparks of hope and faith along the way, keeping them in their hearts. When they finally reached the North Star, they found it weak and pale. It floated quietly in the darkness, and its light was barely visible. Felix stepped forward and spoke firmly. "We've come to help you. Please tell us how we can bring back your light." The North Star spoke in a deep, sad voice. "My light is fading because people have lost their way. They no longer see me, and without their belief, I cannot shine." Mia stepped beside Felix. "But we can help them remember. We can show them that they need you." The North Star hesitated. "How will you do that?" Felix and Mia exchanged a determined look. "We will take your light and carry it into the hearts of the people," Felix said. "And when they see it, they will believe in you again." The North Star seemed to smile. "You are brave, and your faith is strong. Take my light and bring it back into the world." With these words, a small, glowing spark detached from the North Star and floated into Felix's hands. It was warm and radiated an incredible strength. Felix and Mia began their journey back, determined to bring the light into the world and remind people that even in the darkest night, a star can show the way. Their journey was far from over, but they knew they would keep the light and bring hope back into the hearts of the people, just as they had always done. For Christmas, they now knew, was more than just a holiday. It was a time when the light of the stars could shine in every heart, if only one believed. Felix and Mia carefully began their journey back, the small glowing spark of the North Star safely cradled in Felix's hands. The spark felt warm, but it wasn't the kind of warmth one would feel from a candle or a fire. It was the warmth of a promise, an unlimited potential waiting to reach the hearts of the people. The way back to Earth, however, was no easier than the ascent. The bridge of starlight that had previously carried them so confidently began to flicker, and the darkness surrounding the sky grew denser and more threatening. Shadowy creatures resembling hissing clouds of smoke gathered along the sides of the bridge. Their voices were cold and full of mockery. "You really think you can change the world?" they hissed. "You're just children. People's faith is lost. Give back the light, and we'll let you go." Felix held the spark tighter and answered with a trembling but determined voice. "We did it once before, and we'll do it again. You can't stop us." Mia stepped beside him and lifted her lantern, which still contained the last remnants of the Christmas star. "Your darkness cannot overpower us. We have the light, and as long as we believe, we are stronger than you." The shadowy creatures seemed to hesitate, but then they attacked. A fierce wind rose, and the bridge began to sway. Felix and Mia clung to each other as they ran across the swaying bridge of light. The darkness seemed to want to envelop them, but every time a shadow approached, the small spark in Felix's hands flared up and pushed them back. Finally, they reached the other side of the bridge and found themselves back on the snowy clearing with the well. The starry bridge behind them faded, and the shadowy creatures could not follow. Felix and Mia breathed a sigh of relief, but their journey was not over. They had saved the light of the North Star, but now they needed to ensure it reached the people. "How do we bring the light back into the hearts of the people?" Mia asked as she sat beside Felix on the edge of the well. Felix thought for a moment and gazed at the small spark. "We have to share it," he said finally. "But how? We can't just give it to every person in the world." At that moment, Astra, the guardian of the starlights, appeared once again. Her glow was weaker than before, but her smile remained as warm as ever. "You fought bravely," she said, "but your task is not finished. The light of the North Star is strong, but it cannot find its way back to the people alone. You must pass it on through stories, through songs, through acts of kindness and hope. You must remind people that they too can be the bearers of light." Felix frowned. "That sounds difficult. How are we supposed to do all of that?" "You are not alone," Astra replied. "There are others who are ready to carry the light. Find them, ignite their inner light, and they will do the same. The light will grow, like a spark that starts a fire." Felix and Mia nodded. They now understood that their task was not to do all the work themselves, but to inspire people to become part of the change. With Astra by their side, they returned to Eichenheim, where the villagers were already waiting anxiously for their return. When the children told the story of their journey and showed the glowing spark, a tense silence gathered around them. Then, an old woman, who had been standing in a corner, began to smile. "It reminds me of the stories my grandfather used to tell," she said. "He spoke of a star that guides the way in the dark, and that we should always believe in the good, even when it's hard. A man nodded in agreement. We've forgotten that. The world is sometimes so dark that it's hard to believe in light. Then let's share the light, said Felix, holding the spark high. It's small, but if we share it with others, it will grow. The villagers hesitated at first, but then a little girl stepped forward. May I see it? She asked. Felix handed her the spark, and to his surprise, it split into two without losing any of its brightness. The girl held it in her hands, and her eyes shone with joy. She passed it on, and soon everyone had a small spark in their hands. From Eichenheim, the light spread. The villagers carried it to other villages, telling stories of Felix and Mia's journey, singing songs, and lighting candles that passed on the light of the North Star. People began to believe in the good again, and with every new hope that was ignited, the North Star shone a little brighter. Felix and Mia watched the changes with a warm feeling in their hearts. They had learned that they were not just messengers of light, but part of a greater miracle. And when the North Star finally shone in full brilliance in the sky, they knew they had fulfilled their task. But they also knew that the light could not shine alone forever. It needed people who believed in it and passed it on. Felix and Mia decided that they would continue to fight for the light, whether through stories, courage, or simply with a smile. For sometimes, as they had learned, even a small spark can illuminate the darkest night. And so they lived happily and inspired many more hearts, never letting the magic of Christmas or the light of the North Star be forgotten. The end, and yet the beginning of countless more stories.